Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. How is everybody? Hope you all had a good weekend. See, we've got a bit of a lively chat already. 30, 35, 37 people in the chat already. Let's go back, way back, back in time. And we'll go and see who we had in earlier on. And now I seem to remember Spider-Lord was in very early, but the message has disappeared now. And I'm sure he's in the chat. I'm sure I've seen his name elsewhere. So I think he was first today. We've also got Arnold in as well. We've got Peter Nicholson saying, I believe doing something you like relieves dangerous stress, especially if you do it with friendly folk. I guess that's kind of relevant to tonight's topic. So we're talking about mental health and tabletop gaming. And the reason I say and not in is because I want to talk about mental health in general, but I also want to talk about how tabletop hobby, or our tabletop hobby, can both, let's just say, affect mental health, whether that's in a positive or a negative way. And we'll kind of come to that stuff. I do want to keep it relatively sort of positive tonight. This shouldn't be about kind of sort of about all negative aspects of it. I think there's some really positive stuff, but I think we have. I think there's a lot to cover. Let's put it that way. So yeah, we'll get to that. Ortega was in as well, saying he can't make it tonight, but he just popped in to say hello. Arnold very kindly made a donation before the live stream started as well. That was a good way to start, even before I even logged in. Thank you very much, sir. Steve Evans was in as well, saying evening all. Peter Higgins, Phil Wilkinson, Peter Cooman, Devon Turner, Scott Longworth, the Spider Lord was in as well. Scott saying, being a sufferer of PTSD, this topic is actually interesting. You see, I try to say the rest of my topics are not very interesting, mate. Simon Parfit says, good evening, gentlefolk. Painting a good tabletop battle are great for clearing the head. But for me, it's more about the social interaction and having a good chat with like-minded people. You'll be glad to know you won't be able to see that because that's just wiped it out. But I've made plenty of notes about all the stuff that I want to chat about tonight. So yeah, we'll get onto that very soon. I'll very quickly dive through the comments and stuff and see who we've got. Spider-Lord again, talking about some personal circumstances as well. David Moffat as well. So now he's got his Space Marine Adventures in the mail. And his daughter's been very enthusiastic to play it. Nice one. Jonathan Wyborn's in as well. Scott commenting again there as well about personal experiences. And Jonathan Wyborn saying mental health is still a big taboo, particularly among males. For example, like be strong or man up kind of thing. We'll come on to that stuff. Standard tabletop saying at least it's a bit cooler for him tonight. It's actually still pretty warm outside, mate, to be fair. But it's been very windy, which I think has been keeping the temperature down a bit. We got Blizzards in as well, asking what everyone's working on. Spider-Lord saying he won't hear, but the articles he was talking about on Wayland Games blog. I will, or certainly if Christian's around and we can dig them out, I don't see why we shouldn't link them on. But if not, I'll share them in the Facebook group later as well. I think you mentioned earlier on that you've wrote some articles about mental health and gaming and stuff. So yeah, it'd be good to share them out for folks. Who else we got? Steve Evans got more female on the table tonight for his next Kings of War Army project. Bloody hell, next one. Blizzards has got his dwarfs on for the slow grow to finish up. Brings him up to almost 700 points for the month. Nicely done. Spider-Lord's doing a bit of Imperial Assault, getting ready for his move as well. Scott's got his Jukari on the table. Yoakum's in as well. Good evening to you, Yoakum. Blizzard says, I never bother telling people about my aches and pains anymore. I got tired of the eye rolls and dirty looks. That's quite apt, actually, something I want to talk about quite soon. Six in the Head's in as well. Nice to see you, Palmsy Sir. Mark Wright's in as well. Where was that one? Krabby Vision's in as well. Nice to see you, Krabby. James Hart's in. Seeing definitely a topic I can relate to. Scott said Andy's going to struggle keeping up tonight. I think it's going to be one of them nights where I have to kind of just talk about my stuff. And then I'll try and dive back in. So please, if you feel free, if you want to tag me in something specifically, you want to grab my attention at BlackJack Legacy, that'll kind of highlight it on my screen. And when I do go back, I'll try and reference that stuff. But otherwise, I do apologise in advance because it's already pretty lively. Standard Tabletop just donated as well, £5 through Super Chat. Says, I wanted to buy you a coffee last time, but it wouldn't work for some reason. Keep being the best live chat host out there. Thank you very much, Luke. Very kind of you, mate. Krabby saying where we're at. Scott's got his drink ready. Yeah, Jason saying it should be an interesting chat as well. Jonathan Wyborn saying it's already been quite cathartic in the chat. half of it is kind of just talking to people and feeling you're in a place where you can talk about stuff. And again, I'll come on to that. Simon Parfit's watching additions. Christian's in. Nice to see you, sir. VG's in as well. Good morning, VG. Hope you're well. Let's have a look. Tim Kelly's in. Hope everyone's good as well. Jez Hunt. Good evening, Jez. How are you? Of course, it jumps off my screen as soon as I said that. Oh, it is busy tonight. Jez Hunt, that was where we were. VG said, I wish I was sleeping and you people would start doing things at a sensible time of the day. But these are the sacrifices I make. Sensible time of the day for you, mate, will be middle of the night for me. Busey's in as well, and this is a massive crew. 80 people in at this time already. Wow. Debs is in as well. Nice to see you, Debs. John Francis in. Derek Hodge. Christopher Warden. Daniel Engel. Josh Price. Simon Morton. James Zom as well. Mike G. Felmood Central. This is good evening, little poxlings. Bobby Clark. Nice to see you, sir. Christopher Warden. Barry Kleiber says his company's closed this week, so he's working around the house. I'll be in and out. Take care, mate. Take care, whatever you're doing. David Delaney says he's enjoying some Warcry with his roommate while we listen. That's nice, mate. Bit of gaming, bit of chat in the background. Gives you something to chat about as well. Josh Price is saying, good evening, everyone. Mountain Gremlin Games, hello to you. John Kellogg, good afternoon. Paul Inman, good evening to you, mate. Brian Martin said he's got his first games of Warcry this week in months, and oh my god, it was so good for the soul. Yeah, I need some gaming quick, mate. I definitely need it. Palmsy saying there, I can't stress enough how much online hobby friends helped me through lockdown. I think we'll start with the lockdown side of things. Lee Russ is there, so he's got the stream in the background while he hobbies. VG's and Andy's got notes. It's going to be a big one. I'm not necessarily steered away from the mental health topic because I have briefly chatted on them and stuff, but I've always wanted to do a live stream talking about it. However, it was one of those live streams that needed me to put a bit of effort in and make sure I formalise what I want to talk about. What I don't want to do is just kind of sit back and let the chat direct it, because otherwise it's kind of all I'm doing is just reading out what you're saying kind of thing. I need to kind of frame it somewhere. So it was something that's taken a little bit of time to... I want to do it sympathetically as well, and I want to do it with some kind of meaning, really. I mean, if just talking about it for one person helps them, then it's been worthwhile. So what I don't want to do is just kind of sit back and just read the comments, because I don't think that'll necessarily help. So yeah, that's why I've got notes. Bjorn's in as well. Good evening, Bjorn. Thank you very much for joining the Facebook group this week as well. Cyber Dragon's in as well. Says all these tabletop hobbies are very relaxing and that's good for his mental health. Doing the hobby part of the hobby, which I do alone, is almost zen-like. Add a bit of socialising as well. Yeah, VJ saying, yeah, man up, I hate that. Gene's in as well. Horrid person. Nice to see you, Gene. Paul says, I like to put forward a quote from Sir Winston Churchill. It's probably relevant to tonight's discussion because the subject extends beyond the tabletop. It does, to be fair. We're talking about tabletop because that's why we're all here. That's what we got in common. But, I mean, this is kind of just stuff for life as well. It says, the cultivation of a hobby and new forms of interest is therefore a policy of first importance. To be really happy and really safe, one has to have at least 2 or 3 hobbies. Kind of agree with that, mate, yeah. And Arnold saying it looks empty. To be honest, mate, if I tip it to the side a little, there you can see the notes on it there. It's because as soon as the light hits it, it goes white. But you can see the writing there, honestly. And Paul saying tabletop gaming is 2 hobbies in 1. Yeah, you're not wrong, mate. It's probably all 5 sometimes. We've got D. Anthony Robinson's in. Nice to see you. Coxie's in as well, saying looking forward to a nice subject as I'm often affected by poor mental health. Positive places like your channel and Uncle Adam's help foster great communities that can help with this. First of all, thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. I mean, I've always kind of set out that my channel, I suppose, once I really got my head around what it was meant to be and where it was going and stuff, it's always been aimed at kind of breaking down barriers to people so they never feel like they can't do something, or getting new people involved and making it a community, really. So I appreciate that seems to be kind of to have gone that way. So yeah, thank you very much, mate. Mark Corley's in as well. Says topic's close to his heart. You have my undivided attention. Thank you, mate. Gary Powell, nice to see you, mate. He says he's working on laying the floor and the carpet tiles. I'm getting the update pictures from Gary, and that place is coming along very, very nice. If you're around the Nottingham area, watch out for a very cool place opening very soon. We got Anna in as well from Red Rose Wargaming. Nice to see you, Anna. Hope you're well. Peter Kuman's got Space Marines on the go. Daniel's working on his Sisters of Battle. Cyber Dragon saying 2 hobbies in one for me, 1 solo, 1 social. Yeah, Felmood Sentinel, he's working on his custom banner bearer for Legion, or for the Legion, using an old decal. Nice one. Mark Berracloth, good evening. Coxie's on with a zombie tonight for Kings of War. Where was that one there? Scott's in all your topics that interest me. I was taking the mic, buddy, I was taking the mic. I'll skip down a little bit. Flying Mammal, good evening, Flying Mammal. Waving at you there as well. Jonathan Elgie saying an important topic. You're a great man for covering it and being honest about your own struggles. I think, to be honest, if I hadn't had kind of some kind of issues myself, I don't think I'd ever kind of probably touch on it, because it feels a little bit disingenuous. By the same stretch, I've not had kind of major, like, sort of serious issues, but I think I've had enough kind of dark clouds that I can sympathise and I can understand exactly. And part of what helped me was the fact that I kind of saw it quite early coming on, and I think that's part of what I'll talk about tonight for others as well. David Mackay's in. Nice to see you, mate. Sean Clark, first time in a while. What have I missed? Topic 2, close to your heart. It seems to be there's a lot of people who've been wanting this topic. Like I say, I was always a little bit kind of, I want to do it justice. I don't want to just kind of, like, this is not a video for clicks kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? This is really about trying to help. And like I say, if this helps one person, whether they're watching it now live, whether they watch it back later on when they just want to kind of put it on the background and have something to listen to, then job done. I'm happy with that kind of thing, you know. Spider Lord says, one thing I will say, they got me to tone down the mental health side of things. It didn't fit a corporate tone, which is fair enough. It's their company. Yeah, I can see that. I guess the difference with me is this is my company kind of thing. This is my business. If I want to talk about it, I'll kind of talk about it. And that's one of the beauties of being able to be supported by the community through things like Patreon and stuff, is that I don't feel like I need to kind of be corporate about this kind of stuff. So I can throw in any kind of thing. But I appreciate when you're working for somebody else and you're doing stuff for them, I can appreciate that's the kind of thing. Chris Dawes is in. Nice to see you, Chris Dawes. Starty's Man Cave's in. Brian Martin saying, hit the like button. I don't know how we're doing for hits anyway. Robert Marshall says he's watching on a new tablet, but for some reason there's no live chat option. Somebody else has said that as well. I've never watched a live stream on a tablet before, so I'm not sure, mate. David Mackay says he's currently undergoing his CBT therapy. Long list of things to go through. Finally started looking at the issues. 20 years of ignoring stuff hasn't done any good. Yes, I would definitely kind of echo that getting help and kind of not letting it fester are really, really important, but I'll come on to them a little bit more. We got Topher Toads in as well. His solo playing Craft and Terrains kept him saying. Jonathan Wyborn there sharing the UK Samaritans number. Yes, it 116123. To be honest, I've got some kind of things up for later on in the chat. Really almost to kind of round it out, but they're very UK centric kind of thing. I'll kind of try and cover as much as I can, kind of some more things around the world, if you like. Honestly, and then the notes are there. Yes, mate, you're right. I'll dive ahead a little bit, otherwise I'll never get started on the topic. Colin McMillan, he says, lockdown melees is spread across many gaming groups. You're not wrong, mate. Flying Mammal saying she's okay. I'm going to chat with Christian. Robert's in, nice to see you, mate. VJ is saying, you guys have a Warhammer World. What could be more interesting than Nottingham? I'm sure when he's ready to share it, he will do. But we'll come on. I'll certainly have a chat about it when it's up and running and stuff properly. Kieran Morris is in as well. Nice to see you, Kieran. Marco's in as well, saying hi to the gang. Scott saying, I find this community in general a supportive community, and the interaction, even the little painting challenges, are helping me out in the dark place I've been for many years. I'm glad it's kind of, even if it only keeps you on the straight and narrow for short periods of time, mate, then it's kind of nice. Good evening to Tony as well. Hello, Tony Booth Leiden. Sean Clark, nice to see you, mate. Brian Sheen saying community, camaraderie, and creativity in the gaming. I'll have to copyright that one, mate. I like that phrase. Spider Lord says, I think this hobby actually attracts people more susceptible to mental health issues. Not sure how true that is. I'll kind of touch on that at some point, mate, because it was mentioned today in the Facebook group, and I've got mixed feelings on it. And Noxie's in as well. Hello, Noxie. Right. What time is that? 15 minutes. Not as quick as I'd like, but we'll get on to it. So let's start with the main part of the chat. So, mental health. there's a couple of big things at the minute, obviously, that are, if people haven't suffered from kind of mental health issues in the past, there's a couple of things at the minute that are probably probably not helping that. One has been the whole COVID thing, and the fact that it's kind of a dangerous world out there. There's I think we just reached, was it 500,000 people had died worldwide the other day, which is like horrendous numbers. People have been like locked down, and they've been isolated from many things, whether that's from their friends, from their family, from work, like just physically getting out of the house, feeling isolated. It's caused, I would say it's caused another level of kind of mental health issues, even in people who potentially don't even realise they're kind of suffering from it. The other side of things is we have a lot of things going on in the world now with around kind of Black Lives Matter kind of marches and issues, and I think almost one's played into the other, in the fact that, whilst I'm not suggesting for 1 second it's not a worthy thing to be talking about, I think people being locked down has really heightened people's kind of sensibilities around this, and it's created maybe some situations where people feel that they can't talk about this kind of stuff, and so they feel isolated from it. You've then also got some of the things that people in the chat have been talking about, things like PTSD, whether they've been sort of like serving in the forces, whether it's through other kind of sort of issues. My own kind of issues, I guess, were around a job, basically, and around how something that I'd done and loved doing for a number of years changed, and I felt really a little bit kind of worthless, to be fair, when I was going through that. And it's not about me tonight, so I'll not be talking about my kind of situation all night, but that was when I realised very, very quickly, I think, that I wasn't kind of myself, if you like. I wasn't myself. Now, one of the things I want to say is that basically there is still a huge stigma. It's the barriers coming down. I think, as it was mentioned earlier on as well, is that about like this kind of this man up feeling, or kind of like get a grip of yourself, stop being a big girl. These are all the kind of things that are directed very much at kind of men when they have any kind of emotional stresses and things, I think. So there's still a bit of a stigma around it, but I think it's been eased. And for whatever reason, I think that within our hobby, and I can only speak for our hobby because I'm not in lots of other hobby groups, but from within our hobby, I think there seems to be a lot of support from the communities, certainly within our community, to kind of support each other and to not feel like you can't speak up. So before I go any further tonight, really, I really want to kind of sort of put them kind of stakes in the ground, is that when I say mental health, everybody has mental health. It doesn't matter whether you think you've got problems, it doesn't matter whether you think you're absolutely fine and you've kind of like, you've got nothing to worry about. Everybody has a mental health in the same way that everybody has physical health. Like, we wouldn't feel bad saying I've hurt my knee, or I've broken my leg, or I've got a bad back, or I've got a headache, or I feel a bit sick. You would never feel kind of ashamed to say that. So you should never feel ashamed to say that you're kind of suffering from some mental health issues either. So if anybody ever does kind of feel that things are getting on top of them, please don't let them sit and fester. Talk to somebody. If that's a complete stranger, if that's talking to your doctor, if it's talking to one of the helplines that I'll talk about later on, always feel that this, even if it's reach out to me, always feel that there is somebody out there who can help you, even if it's just to listen. And you know, the whole thing about a problem shared, it's a problem halved. Never feel like you're on your own in those kind of situations, because, and I'm talking about men specifically tonight, because obviously there's a big portion of my viewers are men. There are women watching who are in the chat tonight as well, and I'm sure I'm not like isolating them from the chat, but tabletop gaming is a very male-dominated hobby, rightly or wrongly, and men's health is very under-discussed. And actually, on some of the stats, like suicide is one of the biggest threats to men under 45. Like that is horrendous. Like, that is a horrendous stat. Like men are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than women. So those kind of things, like if anybody ever feels like, sort of even at the start of that journey, please speak to somebody. So I just kind of wanted to start with that one, really. I want to start with kind of some of the positive aspects, because our hobby has a lot of positive aspects on mental health. And I think the first one I'll say is that our hobby can be as involving as you want it to be. It can be a case if you want to sit and build models. It can be a case if you want to sit and paint models. You can do like kit bashing and stuff like that. Sort of get your creativity out there. And it can go all the way to the other end of the scale, where we can you can go to events, you can go to big tournaments, you can go to like 4-day gaming conventions, all those kind of things. So there's a real kind of swing of sort of approachability. No matter where you are, if you are feeling that you have some kind of mental health issues, no matter where you are on that scale, there is something in our hobby where you can comfortably fit. Now, be that kind of on your own, kind of locking the world out, dealing with it in a certain way, or whether that's surrounding yourself with people who have like-minded, common interests at a very structured event that might take away, any kind of anxiety, because you know exactly where you need to be at what time to play a game with a game that you know, with somebody else that you share an interest with. So there is big kind of swings and big scales on that. And like I say, I think the structure to our hobby can help as well. That there's an order to things, and like if you're building things, there tends to be instructions on how to build something. Yes, you can kit bash and you can get creative and that kind of stuff, and that's one side of it. But there is an element of kind of control in that. If I buy this kit, it will build these things. If I follow them instructions, that's what I'm going to come out with. There's an element of kind of almost painting by numbers sometimes, of just I want to follow the box art, I want to paint it my way, and I'm just going to kind of take my time. I might follow a tutorial. There's an element of control, and there's an element of I can see where the end is. I know what I'm going to do by going through this. And I think that can help with kind of mental health issues. Because a lot of mental health issues, in order to kind of to calm the brain, be that with things like depression and anxiety and a lot of other things as well, to be fair, sometimes just being able to mentally switch off for a short period of time can really give you, it kind of switches your brain off for a little bit. It gives you a chance to catch up and kind of rebalance yourself, if you like, reset yourself a little bit. And I think even the fact that once we mix with other people, like if you're at a stage where you feel you can get out there and mix and play games with people, and you want the social aspect of it, we speak a common language when we're talking about games. We speak a common language when we're talking about how to play a game or talking about painting, and I think that takes a lot of pressure off. So that kind of covers some of the initial things I wanted to talk about. Social aspects, I think it's huge. If you're suffering from some kind of mental health issues, I think it can be really hard to put yourself in a situation that you feel very uncomfortable with. Now, whether that is just if that is something where you're involving yourself with an online community, you might not feel up to actually facing people face to face, like getting out there and playing a game. You might not feel up to kind of physically talking to somebody face to face. Some people get to a stage where they don't even want to answer the phone, they don't want to answer the door. Like they dread opening a letter kind of thing. Maybe it's money worries that's causing this. All those kind of things can really isolate you and keep you away from people. So if you can get yourself involved in an online community, such as kind of something like what we have here, that can be a real kind of big first step in integrating yourself back into a kind of a social aspect. So there's some really positive sides to that as well. And again, the fact that we all share a common love, be that kind of painting, building, playing games. Some people just talk about games, like it's in the same way you can be a football supporter. You might never kick a ball, but you just want to talk about it. It's like again, that's a very viable and kind of credible part of the hobby as well. And so being part of a community, being part of something, is really, really beneficial. And it also breaks down that barrier of feeling isolated. Now, what we're seeing now with the COVID-19, with the lockdowns and all that kind of stuff, I'm certainly feeling it more now. I think I've transitioned from a job where I was on the phone a lot of time, kind of speaking to people from all over the world, having to kind of work together on projects, even if I wasn't always face to face with them. I've gone from that to my new job now, doing this, which, because of lockdown, is very isolating. Now, when I kind of set out on this journey to come here, to doing this as a job, I had ideas of going to visit companies. I was looking forward to going to Adepticon and meeting lots of people and setting meetings up and getting to meet some of the American folks that I might never get to kind of see again. I was looking forward to playing games, getting people here to play games. And the coronavirus lockdown has really kind of knocked that on the head. So I've had 3 months basically of doing this now. And I'll tell you why 3 months is important in a bit. But I've had 3 months of doing this now where I've not seen a soul. I've not played a game outside of me and my wife rolling dice and stuff like that. And that's been quite isolating for me. And if it wasn't for the fact that I have, because I don't have like a lot of friends. I probably have one mate basically who I speak to. What I mean is I've got lots of other friends, people online and stuff. But what I mean is I've got one person basically who I ever really spend any time with outside of this hobby, if you like. So it's not like I've got a wide kind of circle of friends to kind of rely upon. If it wasn't for online communities and I mean the amount of people that have just kind of reached out and dropped me a message, how you doing, how's things, how's it going, it's all those kind of things that really do help, and I'm conscious of that as well. And I try to make time to make sure I'm checking in with other people as well, and I'm not great at it. Like the fact that I've got one mate kind of thing shows that kind of maintaining friendships is not one of my strong points, and I know that. I know it's something that I have to actively work on. It's kind of like online communities can be a real source of breaking down isolation. So if you ever feel that that you kind of that you just you're at a bit of a low point, drop me a message, drop somebody else a message, come into the Facebook group. The Patreon group is great for just kind of people just diving in and having a bit of a chat and drifting away in Discord and stuff like that. So never feel that you're on your own. So those are some of the kind of the positive sides of things. I'm sure I've missed a million things, but I'm going to dive back into the chat a little bit and just pick out some comments because it's been going great guns through here. So I'm going to pick a few things out a little bit. Spider Lord saying CBT, so cognitive behavioural therapy. Sorry if anybody doesn't know what that means. It's about kind of almost positive thinking to really kind of almost speak lightly of it. But yeah, like reprogramming your brain to not think negative things, really. Richard Smith saying, in this country we tend to only address mental health once something's badly wrong. Exactly, mate. It says, treating it like it's a break or a fix. I've learned my head needs just as much attention as my body. German therapy. It's a really, really great point, mate. And it's kind of what I touched upon when I was saying about how we all have mental health in the same way we all have physical health. What I'm trying to say tonight doesn't just kind of, I'm not just kind of speaking to those people that have kind of suffered and completely understand what I'm saying. I'm talking to the people that have never suffered from this before, because I'd never suffered for this for like 44 years of my life, basically. And then kind of something comes out of left field and it knocks you a bit. And it's a strange feeling when it happens. Mental health is something you have to exercise, you have to work at, in the same way you've got to try and keep fit. In the same way, if you kind of, if you don't keep fit, if you don't eat healthy food, that kind of stuff, things can go wrong with your body. If you don't keep kind of on top of your mental health, things can go wrong with your mental health. And things like having a hobby is a really strong point of kind of exercising that. Not overworking yourself, so that to a point where the only thing you ever work on is doing your job, and you don't have any time to switch off, and creating kind of stresses and pressure from that. Sort of not talking about problems with your family and trying to bottle things up. All those kind of things all affect your mental health, and you have to work at it. It's a constant thing. You might not realise it, especially if you've never had any issues. You'll not realise that kind of stuff. But if you've never suffered, the chances are you're probably doing a really good job of working on it, and that's because you've got a social circle. You kind of you see other people. You're out with friends and stuff. You're talking to people. You've got a hobby. You've got interests. It's that balance of all those different things. Felmo Central thing. We're all mad here. The Cheshire Cat. You're not wrong, mate. VJ saying it's an interesting point to Spilo. I think it attracts people that are more open about having issues, people that are happier to embrace a less socially manly activity like painting and gaming. I think, to be honest, I don't think we necessarily have a hobby that is full of people with mental health issues, if you like. I think that people, maybe if they've suffered from mental health issues or they're looking for a way to relax and unwind, they potentially look for quite a quite a solitary hobby sometimes because you don't really want to talk about it initially. And painting, it can be that. You'll probably get similar, if you went and did these kind of surveys, you'll probably find in fishing as a hobby, you probably find there's a lot of people who kind of just want some kind of solitary time. Although, to be fair, that gives you a lot of time to think about stuff. You'll probably find things like photography, where people are kind of going out, doing their own thing, just concentrating on what they need to do. I think there'll be a lot of hobbies where people are basically almost burying themselves away sometimes, and that's kind of important as well. I'll touch on that in a bit. So I don't think it's necessarily that we're probably not any different to anything else. I think because we have some quite strong communities within it, and potentially because there are subsections of communities. So, for example, within tabletop gaming, there's not just one big community. There's BlackJack Legacy community, and then there's a community around maybe, let's say, The Walking Dead. There's a community around Warhammer 40,000. And I think maybe once you break it down into little subsections, and the fact that we don't necessarily see each other face to face, maybe people feel a bit more comfortable talking about those kind of issues. So I think it's good that people talk about it. I wouldn't necessarily see it as a hobby where we have the monopoly on people who kind of maybe have some poor mental health issues. Jess Hunt saying it's dog times. You'd be mad not to go a bit mad. People should cut themselves some slack. If you get through the day, you're winning. It's not wrong. It is tough at the minute. Everybody's kind of had different experiences through that. Some people have had to like shield through the coronavirus, where they've literally not been allowed to leave their house. I've had some really kind of some tough days where things have just really got on top of me about it, and you can kind of send yourself a little bit crazy just thinking, like what a situation the world is kind of in, because you can't see an end to it. You can't see a way through it. There's not much you can do to influence that outcome, if you like. So I can completely understand how people get into those situations. VG saying guys who are into football and drinking tend to be more the hyper masculine and probably won't be as open about it. I think again it's a case of sitting face to face. It's not a comfortable conversation sometimes. So if you're into somebody that goes to the football matches and you go down the pub with your mates, you probably don't talk about it. So maybe it's the fact that a lot of our hobby is online. Is maybe one of the reasons why people do feel like they can't open up. That it's not face to face. If you can hide behind that computer screen. Kieran saying, wonder if the idea of this hobby is nerdy and often kept hidden from others makes folks easier to open up. If we're in this thing, we're among similar folks. It's an interesting thought, Kieran, actually. I wonder if that's the case. I mean, do you know what it is? I can't really put my finger, because it's not like I've really talked about my own problems with probably anybody outside of my wife. So it's not that I've kind of openly talked about it with my family or anything like that. I've probably spoke to you a lot about it more than anything else. So it's an interesting thought, to be fair. Bloggy's in as well. Nice to see you, Bloggy mate. Scott's saying, yeah, too right. Never bottle it up. It only worsens. 100%. You will go through phases where you think, I'll be all right. I just need to I'm having a bad day. I just need to kind of get through it. That might be the case, but if one bad day turns into 2 bad days, or 2 bad days turns into a week, reach out, get some help, talk to somebody, please. Indigo Dragons, I think men feel more pressure placed on them by society to act and be manly. Part of it's not truly opening up about feelings. I think I do agree with you. I think things are changing. I think it's getting better, but I still think there's stigma for women, to be fair, to talk about mental health issues. I think sometimes it's almost gone the other way, and sometimes it can be a case of like people are accused of looking for kind of sympathy, if you like, by saying, oh, I'm suffering, like, kind of thing. So I think sometimes it can go too far the other way, to the point where it's almost ridiculed to an extent, and that's wrong as well. So I think things are getting better, but there's always places to go. Christian sharing some of his issues as well, saying that depression and anxiety are common problems for him, and that basically kind of struggling with a low self-worth, and the community got him through the worst of things. Honestly, it's low self-worth is, I think it's certainly an effect that I had when I was kind of through my job and stuff. I had quite a senior role in what I was doing, and I got to a point where basically I just felt like my job was worthless. And it turned out it was, because I'd just been made redundant. So but it took 2 years to get to that point. And actually it's like, if I didn't have this YouTube to kind of see me coming out the other side of it, if I didn't have this hobby to kind of balance the good and the bad, I think it could have ended up in a much darker place, to be fair. Scott saying, yeah, if anyone ever wants to chat, drop him a message as well. Same name, Scott Longworth. Thank you, Scott. Jess is saying, we create and play in worlds we understand and control. Its randomness is considered an escape and reassertment of control. It's a pretty logical choice. I think there is an element to that. Sometimes you can, a lot of things about like depression and anxiety, amongst other mental health issues, is that you do feel out of control. You feel like you can't do anything about it. And that's one of the issues. That's why people don't kind of reach out and get help. And I think when it comes to gaming and hobby, there is an element of control. You might not win the game, but you kind of controlled it, if you like. VGC went through a rough patch when he saw a therapist a few years back, found it very useful, especially developing coping strategies. I think I saw it in myself quite early on, I think, because I guess I was I think I was open to thinking, actually this is different for me. I've not felt like this before, and I never actually got to a point where I went to see anybody, but I spoke to my wife about it, and I kind of I did a lot of kind of investigation of stuff myself and understanding about managing stuff, and a lot of the really obvious stuff is it's right, but you gloss over it. Thinking about things like, there are some things you can control and some things you can't control, and don't worry about the things you can't control, because you can't control them anyway. And it's easy to say that, but until you can actually put them into context in your own situation, and the little light bulb comes on, which it did for me, that's when you can kind of start to kind of sort. But yeah, I would certainly developing sort of coping strategies and being able to identify these issues coming down the path, if you like. Peter says, it's funny that men enjoy working in a task that involves others, but seem to think any emotional issue must be borne alone. Yeah, you're not wrong. Deb's also sharing, yeah, if anyone needs to chat, thank you, Debs. Josh saying, last year decided to open up his own community tabletop gaming group to help people with their mental health. We had a great support and got a lot of new people in the hobby. Brilliant, mate. Honestly, I can't sort of, like, anybody kind of doing anything to help others, I think, is, should always be kind of rewarded. Mr. Snowyak, good evening. Interesting stuff. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. VGC and COVID's added a new stressor, but I started taking St. John's wort, and it's been pretty successful, offsetting that, but going back to coping strategies has been great. Crabby Vision saying his therapist told his suicidal thoughts are lies. They try to convince you the world is better without you and you're worthless. That's not true. The world is always better. Honestly, like, for my own sort of personal side of things, I never ever got anywhere near those kind of things, but I can see how things can send you down that path. And honestly, if anybody ever in our community, if anybody is ever at that stage, please never think that you're better off kind of out of it. You're never better off out of it. Mr. Snoyak says hobbies helped a lot in coping with heartbreaks. That, to be fair, I mean, that's a really good point. Kind of like getting over a relationship is another form of mental health, basically, because it's not a physical thing. It doesn't kind of, you don't break up with somebody and your leg breaks kind of thing. It's not a physical thing. It's to do with the way your kind of brain processes those things, and it's really important. It's something that gets glossed over a lot. That idea of just get yourself back out there kind of thing. It's ignoring. It's almost like a bereavement. There's a healing process to it. Foul Mood saying taking back control of what you want something to be and having a moment to engage in wholesome creativity. Yes, JVC Paints, good evening. Thank you for coming in. It's just stumbled onto the live stream. Great stuff. Thank you very much. Nice to see some new faces in. Where else are we up to? Spider-Lord saying, by the way, if this stream starts to hit anyone, then speak up. Don't suffer in silence. Yeah, 100%. Thank you very much for that. And I must clarify this. I'm no expert. I'm not a medical professional. I've had no medical training. I've had no kind of sort of behavioural kind of training, any of that kind of stuff. I'm speaking from personal experience. and I'm kind of speaking very generally. So please, like, if I'm kind of triggering anybody on any reasons, I apologise. Please pull me up on it. Bobby Clark says, being open and simply engaging in conversation with fellow hobbyists can really help people that they have some support. Talking saves lives. Couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. VJ said, being here is always better than not. Death's way too final. Yeah. Just, even just from the side of it is you'll never get all those minis painted. So there's always something to do. There's always something to come back for. Davidson has to tend to struggle against isolationist tendencies. Rangers of Shadow Deep really help them open up and start socialising in the hobby. Sorry for laughing, David. It's just, playing a single player solo game is what got you open up and start socialising. I think that's amazing. It just goes to show, because it's something I want to touch on later on. Doing something in isolation doesn't have to be isolating, and I think they're two different things. Crowley's saying there's a lot of things going on in the world that kind of reinforce those thoughts. That's why mental health sufferers seclude themselves from society. 100%, mate, 100%. Problems he's saying there, money issues are a thing for him. He made a lot of stupid financial mistakes in his 20s that still haunt him. To be honest, mate, I did exactly the same. I basically kind of, I came from a family that didn't have a lot of money. I got into a situation where I had a decent job and I was earning a decent amount of money. I spent like I was fish going out of water. I think I was always of that opinion of, well, I never had it before, so I'm not going to miss not having it. And with that kind of leads you down some financial mistakes where you actually realise not only have I spent everything I had, I've spent stuff I don't have either. Thankfully, I kind of I was fortunate to be able to kind of to sort that out and get out the other side of it, and I'm in a very different kind of position now. But yeah, I kind of did some stupid stuff as well, and I can appreciate how that can send you down a dark path. I think one of the things that helped me was the fact that I had a good job, and I knew there was money coming in to kind of to pay my way out of that stuff. I think one false move, losing my job at the wrong time, kind of thing, could have made that whole thing come tumbling down. JVC Paints says his expat gaming friends here are like long lost brothers. We're doing well. Good, mate. I'm glad to hear that. Sorry, this is just kind of jumping at the top there, so I'm trying to catch back in because I don't want to. If I miss anybody, I do apologise. There's a lot of chat coming in tonight. Thank you for subscribing, GVC Paints. Jonathan Dawson says, having empathy, listening and offering support is important. No one has to be a psychologist. Just to be aware of others is important. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point as well. But like I said at the start of this, really, if nothing else, if nothing comes from this other than people feel that they're not alone, then they're not like, if they're feeling isolated and somebody reaches out, but everybody realises they're not on their own in the situation, then kind of like then the job's done, and that's the thing. We've got, or we would have done if that hadn't jumped off the screen again there. I'm just going to dive in again. I apologise again, folks. Andrew Pierce, good evening to you, sir. He says, hi there, Andy. Hope you're well. I was diagnosed with depression nearly 10 years ago. The hobby has helped me no end. I think that's one of the things as well, is and I'm glad that it's helped you, mate. I think people have to realise that it's not just that one thing that you fix and then it's fine from then on. It's like I said before. It's like, think of it like in really simple terms, and I apologise if I'm kind of really with simple things. Think of it like if you put on weight and you want to lose weight, it's not something you just lose weight and then go back to your old ways. You have to do something different. You have to change your lifestyle. You have to change what you do. And dealing with mental health is a very similar thing. If you kind of come to a point where you learn coping mechanisms, you learn what those trigger things are, it's not something you just fix and then forget about it and everything's fine again. It's an ongoing thing. So it doesn't mean it's debilitating, but it's something that you have to be aware of. And to be fair, I think everybody should be aware of it. Krabby's saying there are plenty of hyper-masculine types that have mental health issues. It isn't an issue constrained by religion, creed, lifestyle. Yeah, I completely agree, mate. I think one of the things that really kind of hit home for me, and these things happen in the weirdest of places. I was sitting, I think it was my birthday last year, and I was sitting in Yo Sushi, having some food with my wife at lunchtime, and there was a leaflet on the counter which was about kind of, I think it was around like the November, my birthday's in November, so it was around the Movember time and stuff like that. And they were focusing where the Movember movement used to be about kind of like testicular cancer and stuff. They'd kind of opened that up a little bit to be about kind of men's mental health as well. And there was a leaflet that had loads of stats on there, and the stats really kind of hit home for me, I think. And at a time where I was just kind of, I suppose, coming out of the worst of what I'd probably been feeling. You do kind of feel sometimes like it's just you. And I think really like reading some of these stats, it almost went from it's just me to like, bloody hell, it's everybody kind of thing. It really opened my eyes to it. And that's why I think, excuse me, even just like I've got a small kind of part of the internet, a tiny little kind of speck on the internet landscape. If I can talk about it, that there's loads of things going on at the minute that people are deciding they want to talk about, different kind of movements, different support and different things that's going on in the world. I like at the minute, like for me, and I think for our community, I think things like mental health are huge. People are used to getting face to face and playing games. People are used to meeting up with other people. They're used to going out to the local hobby store and kind of picking up some paint and having a chat with the guy that works behind the counter that you've always spoke to for the last 10 years kind of thing. That general interact, even to the point, there's not so much new stuff coming out at the minute to kind of like to talk about, to buy, to play, to paint. All of those things really do impact us, and especially those of us who are kind of who are aware and dealing with kind of like mental health side of things. So yeah, I think this is an important thing to talk about and to discuss and be open about, and to make sure everybody knows that there is always somebody to talk to. Jez saying, always lived with depression, had total breakdown, went into his 20s, got pills and counselling, still alive with depression 25 years later, or still live, sorry, but understand it now, and the hobby helps. 100%, mate. A Bird, nice to see you. A Bird works in a secondary emotional support classroom and try to bring in nerd games to play with his students. Typically a couple of modern Magic decks. In general, this works for a bunch of reasons. That's fantastic. That's fantastic, mate. Tim saying, busy painting, but he had 15 plus years of dealing with the black dog and anxiety. No failing is final. Always remember that. Time will heal you, but it's something you can't rush. 100%. He says, be patient and forgive yourself. 100%, mate. How are we doing for time here? Oh, we're okay. We're okay. I don't want to skip over too much. I think it's important. Spider Lord saying, painting, gaming background, and what I consider 3 main pillars of the hobby. Each can be very helpful. Yeah. George is in as well. Even George says, I think it's true that you need to trust someone to open up. Identifying mutual interest can begin that trust. I think that's a really good point, mate. It is about trust, because nobody wants to kind of open up to be kind of ridiculed, if you like. So, James Brazen, good evening to you, sir. Dave Doggy says, this show is better than everything on 100 Spanish TV channels right now. I'm assuming you've had a look, mate, have you? You've just checked through them all and come back to mine. George is saying, our hobby probably has no more or less arseholes or good people than fishing or any other hobby. Yeah, you're probably right, mate. Tony says, had a lifetime of misery with mental health issues. It's a miracle I have friends and family, but found that hobby really helped as a focus. Do you know what it is, mate? I mean, we chat like sort of semi-regularly, sort of outside of these stuff and things, and it's nice that people can find somewhere where they do, first of all, where they feel they fit in, because like that's a sort of like anxiety type thing in itself, of the feeling of not fitting in and not kind of finding people with like-mindedness, but also finding that place where you can feel comfortable to open up about that kind of stuff. And our community is richer for having people like you in it, mate, and I'm sure that you benefit likewise from being part of it, mate. So thank you very much for everything you do. Krabby saying, I think people think it's one thing. It's a combination of multiple things ordinarily, and often historical issues. And realizing that and dealing with it helps. Yeah, 100%, mate. Like I think it tends to be, or it can be, one thing that tips you over the edge, but it's been years of not dealing with other things that you've just swept under the carpet and forgotten about, that I think get you to that point. There's not a person watching this, and there's not a person in the world who isn't dealing with day-to-day shit, basically. Nobody is living that kind of like that sort of that life of I have no issues. And to be honest, you need issues in your life. You need problems in your life. Because if you don't have problems, you'll never have to solve anything. You'll never get. I've read a lot of stuff about happiness and stuff, and one of the things about people who are truly happy is they have problems. But the difference is they solve those problems. They find a way to overcome those problems, and overcoming a problem can fill you with a sense of like sort of fulfillment and happiness. And it's only through having problems that you get to be happy. If you never had anything to be unhappy about, you never get to feel happy at the end of it. If you like, it's like, how can I put it? If you've dreamed your whole life, right, of buying a Ferrari, right, and then you have that Ferrari, I can guarantee you there is a period in time where you just say, it's just like every other car. It's great. I love it. It looks beautiful. I've had it for ages. I want to trade it in and buy something else now. And I think that's the whole point. That is life. Everybody has problems. Everybody has. If you get a pay rise in your job and you think, fantastic, I've just doubled my salary. All my problems are over with. All that happens is you start buying more expensive things and you move to a bigger house and you have bigger bills till eventually that new benchmark becomes the new benchmark. And what you think is, oh, I need a pay rise. I want to buy more stuff. That's just life. Everyone has problems. The problem is when you're not solving those problems and those problems pile up, that's when you get to that point. And that's why you need to kind of speak to people. That's why you need to ask for help with this kind of things, because nobody does this stuff on their own. And if you can solve some of those problems, you get that sense of accomplishment from completing that. It's one of the things in our hobby that I've kind of said about finishing projects. Like, I get a big sense of accomplishment and a real kind of a pat on my own back, if you like, from finishing painting a small batch of models. Now that might be painting them to a much worse standard than I would like to, and it might not be a case of like, they might not take me very long. I've got 5 models here on my table that probably took me about 4 or 5 hours. I've been painting up some Wild West Exodus models here, and it's essentially let me get there. It's essentially contrast paints and dry brushing. But you know what it is? I've finished them. I've done them. That's what I mean about completing stuff, finishing things. And if you do that with problems in your life, if you can find a solution to those problems, that's where sort of fulfillment and happiness and everything else comes from. Yeah, I completely I got off on one there a little bit. Al Cluley said he lost his wife and then had a disabling, life-changing accident. Honestly, mate, my thoughts are with you on that stuff. He says, got back into the hobby and the communities and let me both online and in real life, took me from the brink of a very dark place. I'm really glad to see that you managed to kind of find a way to kind of come through those tough times, mate. And I'm sure those dark days will come and go as well. But I think you're testament yourself, mate, to say that no matter how bad things get, and I imagine there's not much worse that people can think of, I think, than what you've been through there. There's always a way through it. There's always a way through it. And it's a constant battle. Where we are, I'm just... John Estel said he's just welcome. Oh, you got back from a narrow win with these fishmen. Playing the last few weeks has really helped his mental health. And to be honest, I'm craving them games now. I know we've been chatting about sorting something out, mate, but yeah, 100%, mate. Getting back to some kind of normal is exactly the kind of thing that we need to do. I'm definitely managing to miss stuff. The chat's going fast tonight, folks, and it's bouncing on the top of my screen. So I'm kind of diving in where I see a bit of a gap. So I do apologise if I'm missing your stuff out tonight. I'm sure everybody else will be reading it as well. Don't forget, folks, if you are watching this back after the effect, the live chat is always available so you can see what people are talking about. So please, if you're watching this back on a stream later on, like not live, if you're watching this as a pre-recorded video, please do have the chat up at the side as well. Have a look through, see what people are talking about, because some people are sharing some really kind of personal thoughts in there, and it's awesome that people feel kind of open enough to be able to do that. Pomsy said, I honestly don't mean this to be a stupid point, but I'm not sure how you could exist in 2020 and not have some mental health issues. I think I kind of agree with you, mate. Even if it's kind of low level to the point you don't even notice it, I think everybody is suffering with some weird stuff at the moment. We've got Taliesin, is it Taliesin? I hope that is. It says, I'm just starting with a hobby, just prepping the minis while at the same time listening to Morgan Freeman talking about the universe is soothing. Yes, Morgan Freeman. Christian sharing as well, the link there as well to the Teespring store. Thank you very much, sir. George is saying, none of us need new stuff to paint. That pile of silver grey minis sits there going, excuse me. It does, but it keeps going down unless you keep feeding that pile. JVC Paint says, if you look at life like a dance rather than a journey, you just go round and round until it's over. A lot less pressure, and the journey happens on its own. Interesting. I've never thought of it that way before. I like to think of it as a journey that I don't know where it's going to end up, but I want to do some sightseeing along the way. Like so you have to enjoy the journey, because actually, if you don't know where you're going, it might not be that great a place. So make the most of the journey on the way. Spider Lord is saying, what I find mental health problems like depression do is lower your resilience. Things that you would normally do just bounce off you and hit you hard. It's certainly kind of, when I was at a bit of a low point, I was getting ill. Like I think my immune system was kind of low at the time, if you like. Stephen Pegg, nice to see you, Stephen. How you doing? He says, haven't been on for a while, but thank you for taking the time to talk about this topic. It affects so many. Thank you, mate. I mean, it's something I know a lot of people do bring up, and I've said before I was going to talk about it, and I think it's only fair. I think it's only fair that we do discuss it. It's, yes, we all love gaming, and we all love painting, and we all love building miniatures. Some of us love building miniatures, me not so much. But there are other things that we have in common, and we mustn't forget that as well. And sometimes kind of looking after yourself, both mentally and physically, are part of that. Peter saying, when you get in a dark place and people talk to you, but you just can't make sentences out of their words, it's good to have something to go to. Yeah. Bobby Clark says, many of Games Workshop's Warhammer heroes do great work for community and for charities, helping people improve their mental health. It's good to see companies involved. It is good to see companies getting involved, mate. Yeah, 100%. Carrie's in as well. Nice to see you, Carrie. Busey saying we're all mentalists. You're not wrong in that, mate. Pomsy saying if you didn't know what dark was, you wouldn't know what the light was. Yeah, 100%, mate. Peter says that's so true. A carefree life doesn't make you strong like problems solved can. Yeah, honestly, it's like on a really like on a different kind of level stuff. They talk about people who have like quite sort of serious sort of injuries or serious accidents through their life, and they actually they come out the other end of it, if you like, actually happier than people that have never kind of suffered any kind of loss or any kind of sort of serious setbacks, because it's that feeling of kind of conquering something and overcoming a problem that you thought was potentially like sort of impossible at the time. Andrew Pierce said, it's amazing that so many of us that have some sort of issues are able to tell all of us. It shows we are suffering on our. It shows that we aren't suffering on our own. Yes, definitely. JVC saying the news is soul poison at the minute, mate. Honestly, I'm seriously trying to not watch or read the news anymore, because essentially it is just like it just sucks the soul out of you. Basically, if you were in a bad place, it'll make you worse, and if you were having a good day, it's going to ruin it, because there is no happy, positive news coming out at the moment. 100% there's not. Scott's saying 126 watching and only 74 likes. Get hitting that like button, folks. Oh, where did that go? Somebody saying Facebook's a soul prison as well. Yeah, pray tell, my friend, it was. It says Facebook's a soul poison too. It can be, mate, to be fair. It can be, and it's one of the reasons that I don't really use Facebook outside of like this kind of stuff, like my hobby and things. I don't really have like, I don't post anything to my own timeline, really. Anybody that's friends with me on Facebook, they'll say that I never post anything. I use it to interact with hobby community groups, basically, and get my hobby news, if you like, and find out what's going on in the world and see beautiful painted miniatures and try to help people who've got questions about games that I know the answer to, and to see what my friends are up to, really. It can end up being a complete cesspool. Andrew Fairbanks and I dropped Twitter like a hot potato. There's a lot of lies, bull hockey and statistics on there. I don't really understand Twitter and how to get the best out of it. And everything I hear about it thinks I'm probably best being in the dark on that kind of stuff. Spider-Lord saying social media in general is poison. He takes long breaks from Facebook from time to time. Do you know what it is? I'm going to dive into some negative aspects of our hobby on your mental health as well, to kind of balance things out, because it's not all kind of roses in the garden, if you like. So I was talking about kind of communities and being part of it with like-minded people. However, we're talking about social media and trolls online, if you like, is one aspect of things that we do see, unfortunately, in our hobby. And it's not just our hobby, you see them in every aspect of social media life. But there are people out there who get nothing but some kind of sick enjoyment from just kind of trolling people. Now, if you have a YouTube channel, if you have if any kind of prominence of, like, you put yourself out there, if that's sharing your pictures, if you've got I don't see it so much on Instagram, but maybe it exists. I just haven't seen it personally. But if you're posting stuff on Facebook, if you're posting stuff on Twitter, if you're posting stuff on YouTube, when you're putting blogs out or podcasts out, any of that kind of stuff, there's an element of society in there who just thinks it's kind of fun to knock you down and to try and kind of to rain on your parade, like, if you like, and that can have a big effect on your mental health. I think you have to realise that, and the way I've kind of sort of dealt with it is that basically, like, those people must hate themselves more than they hate me. Like, I could never bring myself to just go online and say horrible things about somebody for the sake of it. Like, why would you? So the way I have to kind of like rationalise it is, they've got their own issues basically, and if that's how if it's making them feel better by venting at somebody else, so be it. Like, it's like, I'm not really doing anything to hurt anybody, I don't think. So that's kind of how I deal with it. But yeah, whether that's kind of people about your painting, whether it's just kind of picking an argument for the sake of it, disagreeing with what you say, I think the other side that we have to realise as well is, especially during this kind of lockdown time as well, there's a lot of things get lost in the conversation in text, and it's not easy to understand the meaning of something or how it's been intended. And I'm my own worst enemy of this kind of stuff as well. I can get drawn into conversations that actually two people are vehemently kind of agreeing with each other but having an argument about it anyway. So just like, it gives people a wall to hide behind social media, and they can say things that they wouldn't necessarily say to your face. So just kind of be aware of it, but don't get dragged into that kind of drama. It's easier to just walk away from it, or it should be easier to walk away from it, but it isn't. And if you're not in a great place or you're having a bad day, that kind of stuff can really trigger you. So yeah, somebody said there, I think it was Spider-Lord was saying, like, sometimes takes a break from social media. It's not always a bad thing. I do tend to kind of, mine's not too bad. Like I say, I use it really for my hobby. I tend to only kind of like mix in those circles, and I don't get dragged into those kind of political arguments or the kind of human rights arguments, or I try not to anyway. I have my opinions on them, and I have my strong opinions on them, but I tend not to kind of, if I'm having a bad day, the last thing I need to do is to kind of is to drag myself into a conversation about that stuff. Yeah. I like to kind of spend my time on the stuff that makes my mental health in a better place. The other side of it is our hobby is the fear of missing out. It can be huge, and the idea of kind of peer pressure and the need to have the latest games, the need to have the newest stuff, the need to buy everything GW release, the need to kind of, even if you don't really want it, that need to kind of go. I think the new 40k 9th edition box is a good example, where it's basically being released as some kind of collector's edition, kind of launch edition type thing. And there's a lot of people up in arms about that, and I get that, right? It stinks. It should just be a kind of starter box that stays around. However, the way I see it is, you either want it and you can afford it, in which case, kind of knock yourself out, go and get it, or you don't want it, or you can't afford it, in which case you probably weren't going to get it anyway. So you can get yourself kind of tied up in this kind of drama of fear of missing out and wanting everything that comes out, even when you don't really want it, the feeling of needing it. Just kind of be aware of that. I mean, when I did that video a while ago about not buying anything for 6 months, it taught me a lot really about my spending habits and about how my mental health plays a part in my buying habits and my spending habits when it comes to this hobby. The idea of kind of just buying something new because I'm having a bad day. And I think it's just being aware of that really. I'm not suggesting you change your ways. Just just kind of reflect on it and just be aware of it, really. And the other side of it is, as we talked about before as well, is it can be very isolating. It is a hobby that you can do vast portions of it kind of solo. You can play solo games. Painting's quite a solo hobby. Building miniatures is quite a solo hobby. Reading the law, reading the rule books, all those things that can be quite isolating. And whilst I think it's great to take yourself away from kind of day-to-day issues and give yourself some breathing space and some room to think, don't hide yourself away from problems by just sort of digging away and isolating, and people thinking, oh, he's fine, he just likes to paint his models or whatever, or she's fine, she just likes reading books and stuff like that. Don't isolate yourself as a way to not confront any issues that you're having, because it's very easy to do that, and it's very easy to hide your problems and pretend everything's fine when you have a hobby that is a case of, I'm just going to go and sit upstairs and I'm going to close the door and I'm going to put my headphones in and I'm just going to sit here and paint models. But actually, I feel like dog crap. I've never felt worse, kind of thing. It's really easy to do that. So again, as I said before, please reach out. Please don't isolate yourself. It's fine to kind of to have some time to yourself to just chill and relax and switch your brain off, but don't use it as an excuse to hide from the world, kind of thing. Yeah, and that's kind of some of the, there's some negative aspects to this as well, and I wanted to kind of touch on those too, because it's not all sweetness and light, so you do have to kind of see both sides of it. Where are we at? Krabby Vision says, Russell Brand does a fantastic podcast, loads of listening in there for people. I agree, mate. It's called Under the Skin. I really, really like it as well. He does kind of like sort of short, like extracts from the podcast, which you can just get on iTunes and stuff. I think the full ones are on Luminary, which is like a subscription model thing, but I think it's like £2 a month or something like that. It's not a fortune. But yeah, I like Russell Brand stuff, actually. I agree. Carrie's saying issues have always been there. We are just more aware of them. And I think that's a good thing, mate. I think being aware of those issues is part of solving the problem, to be fair. Vincent says, after sobering up from his alcoholism, he isolated himself for 5 years. After managing to go out, I restarted the hobby after having sold all of his stuff for booze. I'd say I'm awesome that you got through it, mate. It's a massive kind of achievement in itself, mate, and congratulations on kind of continuing with that journey. I think it kind of touches on what I just said there, really. Don't isolate yourself. Like you can use isolation as a coping mechanism, and that can only lead to basically making it, it's like at the minute, to be fair, and I'm sorry to kind of liken it to something a little bit different, but at the minute with us being locked down and people having to stay at home, some people are craving to go out, and I'm sure some people can't wait for pubs to open and all that kind of stuff, but there are a lot of people who are quite reluctant to go out now. They've almost gotten into this kind of new normal. Like it takes 28 times of doing something to make it a habit. People have got into the habit of staying at home. I've got into the habit of staying at home, and it can be hard. Don't get isolated. Vincent saying, but the hobby and his best friend who has her own demons helped through some dark times. Having somebody you can talk to is huge. Just Kev says, hey guys, later the chat tonight regarding mental health. I think the nature of our hobby is quite introverted, results in a high proportion of community members with mental health issues. That would suggest, Kev, if I'm reading that right, that you're saying that because the hobby is introverted, people with mental health issues come to our hobby because they're introverted. I'm not sure that's necessarily the case, because there is still some kind of level of interaction there to get into the hobby, if you like, and asking for help and asking for support, if you like. I think it's just a case of, I think maybe people are just more open to talking about it. Maybe it's because it's a bit of a nerdy hobby, and people are attracted to niche hobbies. Who knows? I certainly don't, anyway. GVC Paint says, good night, all. Good morning. I'm off to work. It's been fun. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that, and thanks for subscribing tonight. Just Kev says, I run our town's gaming club, and I'm concerned that he's not being there to support his friends during the lockdown. Miniature gaming is a great escape and the highlight of the week. I agree, mate. I think we haven't even begun to see the kind of the effects of what's happened really at the minute, because we're not getting to see people to find that out. Krabby says, when you can't get out of bed and people call you lazy, when you're standing on the edge of a cliff and people say you're dramatic, it's lonely and hopeless. Education on this is needed. 100%, mate. 100%. And I think that kind of comes back to to what I was saying before, is that I think sometimes it can go too far, to the point where it is getting better and people are more open to talking about it. But I think there are some people who think that some people are just saying it for attention, and that does a disservice to the people that need help. Taliesin says, you know what helped me deal with these anger issues? Quitting all political stuff on social media. No more posts, no more ranting. Honestly, I couldn't agree more. Like, I definitely feel like my temperature rising when I'm reading some of the stuff, and it's hard not to get into that mindset, and it's hard not to pick up the phone and look at the latest news, because there's nothing else happening at the minute. There's nothing else happening in the world except that. Well, I mean, there is stuff happening, but you think when reading the news, there's nothing else happening. Scott says, Nordic Viking music on in the background while he's painting is a great escape from the horrors of everyday life. Maybe I need to try that, mate, and see what it's like. Where was that one there? I just saw Phil Wilkinson saying something there. We'll go back and find it. Where was it? Well, it was quite far back. What were you saying, Phil? Where's it gone? There it was. It was saying, hope it goes well. Sorry, saying relaxing harp music's helping go to sleep. I always listen to a podcast. I listen to some kind of audiobook or podcast when I'm going to sleep. I have an active brain. I've mentioned this before, and I can kind of overthink things and kind of like sort of keep myself awake thinking stuff. I'm certainly not drinking my coffee, that's for sure. And yeah, I need something to kind of take my mind off it. George is saying about pressure versus stress. We need pressure, but stress has an adverse effect. Yeah, you're right, mate. You're right. Born to lose, live to win. Nice name, yeah. I like that name. It says, totally on my own in the world. No family. Mum and dad died. No brothers or sisters. But do you know what, bud? You're not on your own, because you're here now, surrounded by over 100 people who are all suffering, maybe not the same as you, but they've all got their own issues that they're going through. And if you ever need to reach out and chat to people, there are any number of folks here, including myself, who are always willing to kind of just to be a friendly kind of sort of smiley face at the end of a chat message or something like that. Never ever feel like you're on your own. We all love the same hobby. We all love painting minis. We all love rolling dice. We all love kind of complaining about the latest Games Workshop game. We've all got a lot of stuff in common. Don't focus on the negative stuff. Focus on the positives, and focus upon what you can share to kind of get you out there, mate. Vincent saying the best way to use Twitter is not to use Twitter. And I think that's kind of what I want to do as well. Justin Powell's in as well. Good evening, Justin. How are you doing? Stephen Pegg says, thanks for catching my chat, Andy. I'm good. Weirdly suffering myself at work, but using the hobby to chill and discussing with friends and family has helped realise I have a lot to give. Honestly, mate, I think people don't realise just how much they do have to give. And it's one of those things, and it can almost even sound corny, but you don't realise kind of what you'd leave behind. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, just there's a lot of positives in this world, mate. The problem is you only ever see the negative stuff. Jez is saying, due to a Facebook ban, I ended up on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram is much more positive space for creative stuff. It is, and I like it for seeing creative stuff. I think what I crave on there are the conversations. I think like I like to talk about the hobby, as you can tell by me rambling here. David Mackay saying, some people love to see the world burn. Yes, mate, that's the trolls for you. Odd-Sided Dice podcast says, I went through a divorce not long ago, and this hobby was the main way to drag me back out, making efforts to go out and play with friends and stuff. To be fair, mate, that's amazing. I'm glad it did. It had the opposite effect for me. I went through a divorce a number of years ago now, and actually I quit the hobby at the time. I ended up selling off all of my stuff, and I actually stopped hobbying altogether. And I didn't get back into the hobby till much later, when I was kind of like in a bit of a better place, I think. And I never even considered it to be kind of mental health at the time. And maybe it was, but I kind of, I sold all my stuff. Mike saying, social media has turned into the downfall of mankind. The only good thing it's good for is attaching people with similar interests. I agree, mate. Spiderlord saying, a lot of Facebook groups are toxic. It comes naturally with an increase in members. bad apples and all that. It's why I have my own group, 200 each members, nice and easy to run. To all it, I think that it's something I've been concerned about. I mean, as my Facebook group's kind of grown over time, it's always been full of really, really nice people. And I've always kind of, and to be fair, even from a kind of a subscriber base for live streams and that kind of stuff, I kind of like it not getting too big, because I feel like it's an awesome community that I can, that I almost feel like I know everyone kind of stuff. And as it grows, I always worry about, is today going to be that day that, like, you know, like I attract the masses and it completely changes? Because that would, it's a scary thought that actually growth could be the thing that ruins it for me. And that's a really weird thing. And it's one of the reasons why the stuff I do, the videos I do, are designed around the community. Like if I wanted to just attract a mass audience of people, there are things I can make videos on that would attract mass audiences. But I kind of choose not to. And it's awesome that the community supports me to do stuff like that. And in return, I do videos for the community kind of thing. Stuff like these live streams. This video is not going to do kind of like hundreds of thousands of views kind of thing. It's not even probably going to do thousands of views. It'll be lucky if it gets to 1,000 views, this video. But that's not important. Like I said before, if it helps one person, if it helps one person to address maybe an issue. But yeah, I do worry about kind of the size of groups growing and stuff. Krabby saying I disagree there. BlackJack Legacy, people who are like that on social media need to be rooted out. They are rarely suffering themselves, but the one comment they make could push someone over the edge. I agree, mate. What I mean, I'm talking about that purely like kind of from my own personal standpoint. Like I'm not kind of on the edge, if you like, that to be pushed over, and I don't really get a lot of negativity if I'm honest in general. But if I do, I kind of dismiss it, because it's if it was really bad, if it was really a personal attack, I would certainly kind of like call it out. But it tends to be just like RC messages, somebody who thinks they know better than I do kind of thing. And very rarely do I get anything that's very personal attack type thing. But then again, I'm a kind of middle-aged white bloke with a bald head and a beard, so I'm not exactly there's not a lot to kind of attack me on, to be fair. I'm sure there are other people who get attacked a lot more, be that for kind of their sexual orientation, whether it's their colour of skin, whether it's their kind of the gender, whatever it is, whatever they get attacked for. I guess I'm not a target of a lot of those attacks because of that kind of stuff. But I agree, this should be called out, mate. I was purely talking about how I deal with it in my own way. Spiderlord says vetting new members helps too. Yeah, I do have a couple of questions for people joining my Facebook group. Anybody that doesn't answer them questions, I tend not to let through. I tend to look and see if are they friends with anybody that's already in the group? Are they already in other groups that I'm a member of? So I know they are really there for the hobby. There are a few little kind of like sort of trigger things that I look for. And I definitely reject more people to the group than I let in based upon that kind of stuff. The group could have been 10 times the size, I think, if I'd let everybody in that ever applied. But yeah, that's not the point of it, is it? Radislaw is in as well, says, don't let anyone invalidate your struggle. Just because someone else has it worse, your frame of reference is unique. You don't have to live in a war zone to be allowed to feel pain. It's a really good point, that actually. You don't have to kind of... you don't compare how you feel to how other people feel. You feel the way you do because of the way you do. And deal with that. Don't say, well, it could be worse. Exactly like you said there. I agree with that. That's a great point, Reslov. Scott saying the reason I'm always judging my own paint jobs on my minis after some really shitty comments on some painting posts. People who do that want shooting with shit, mate. No, it goes back to the video I was on about tabletop standards, about how it doesn't exist. People, I understand. People have kind of had a bit of a dig at me about the video, saying, well, tabletop standard is about 3 colours minimum, and it's for tournaments. That might have been where it started, but that's not where it's at now. People can use the name tabletop standard as a bit of a dig, saying, it's all right for tabletop standard kind of thing. When you've just poured your life and your soul and it's the best mini you've ever painted and stuff, people are a little bit kind of what's the word I'm looking for? A bit passive aggressive sometimes when it comes to stuff like that. You should never ever criticise somebody's paint job even if they've asked for constructive criticism, they've asked for constructive criticism. If they've not asked for criticism at all and you don't like it, don't comment. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like let people be, kind of thing. Potato Painter's in saying lurkety, nice to see you. Egon's in as well saying hey there, good evening. Tim Kelly says notes from the Nervous Planet, great book about Matt Haig about social media, a very personal story. I might read that, mate. I quite like stuff like that. Krabby saying, much like racism, the sort of attack or discrimination has absolutely no place in society and shouldn't be accepted as a coping mechanism. Yeah, honestly, I agree, mate. I don't think we disagree on it. It's just that the stuff I get kind of thrown at me is minor. That's what I mean about how I kind of cope with it personally. But if it was something really bad, yeah, of course I'd call it out. Bobby Clark says, on the flip side, Instagram, I get a lot of messages from strangers wanting to talk hobby and I have a cheerful chat. Nobody's ever talked hobby with me on Instagram, mate. Robert Junk says he's travelling in the car with his wife, so I have to finish this later. Thanks, mate. Catch you later. Potato Peter says Grey Knights are getting shafted. Is that some new rules for Ninth, mate? Is that what we're talking about? Jason says, I'm always tempted to buy the new GW releases because sometimes they go out of print. However, if you didn't really want them to start with, it doesn't matter if they go out of print. It's a bit like the latest iPhone comes out and everybody feels like they need to have one. Like, do you really need it? Do you really want it? It goes back to what I was saying before about getting a Ferrari. Like, you buy, I want the latest iPhone. And then after you've had it for about a month, it's like, it's just the same as every other iPhone now. It's a bit bigger, might be a little bit faster, but does all the same stuff. I still go on Twitter. I still go on Facebook. I still take pictures of my miniatures with it. Like, I think that we're in a very consumeristic kind of world now. And I see it the same thing with the GW stuff. If you want it and you can afford it, then buy it. But don't buy it just because you think you can't have it later. That's counter kind of productive. Tony said, I have bug all emotional resilience due to a pretty bad past. I find mainstream sites to be quite toxic, so I removed themselves from them. Yeah, and I can get that, mate. You can only get kicked so many times before you don't put yourself out there to be kicked again. I do appreciate that. But yeah, I'm glad you kind of you feel like you've found somewhere that's not the case, mate. And if you ever did feel like that, I would hope that we could kind of like we could reach that like we sort out between us kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we don't need any kind of toxicity in our hobby, and certainly not in our group. And Potato Painters there saying reach out to the fantastic community, 100%. Mike G says he's back now. He had to go and pick up the grandma's pills after watch the rerun. No boys, bud. Mr. Snoyak says not buying stuff gets easier over time. When you didn't buy a thing you thought you needed it first will actually make you proud when the FOMO is over. I agree, mate. Like I said before, I did that video about not buying anything for 6 months. It completely changed the way I see things. I think lockdown at the moment and people not being able to go out and just like get that instant gratification of going and picking something up off the shelf and going and buying it instantly. I think that's kind of reprogrammed people a little bit to think differently. Peter saying, I actually like lockdown. Never had so much fun in my life. No need to go see people I don't want to. Time for his hobby, not so much rush. I think, do you know what it is? It certainly reassesses the things that you miss. The things that you want to do are the things that you are the things that you should be doing once lockdown ends. And the things that you don't miss at all are the things that you shouldn't kind of go back to, if you like. Scott saying you can also link your tabletop standard idea could also fall under the same category as this one. Yeah, definitely. I don't know if that was before or after I mentioned that, mate, to be fair. Al Cleary saying, I've got to be on guard for comfort buying. The plastic crack can be as big an addiction as any. It's an instant cheer up to buy a model, which is fine if you're on a budget. Yeah, like I said before, it's I'd never tell anybody not to buy something, but I would certainly just be aware of kind of comfort buying and buying for happiness, like for that instant hit kind of thing. Just be careful with that kind of stuff. If you can afford it, you can afford it. It's your money, but some people get themselves into debt over that kind of stuff. And Spider-Lord saying there, retail therapy can be a slippery slope. Yeah, I've seen people get themselves into serious debt buying Warlord Titans on credit cards and stuff like that. Potato Painter says his hobby's helping reach out to more people and release his own dream of doing his hobby full time. Awesome, mate. It's kind of that's how I ended up here as well, really. If it wasn't for an awesome community of people and people supporting me, I wouldn't have got to this stage either. Lizzie Bingham, nice to see you, Lizzie, as well. This is really good. Thanks, Andy. I think too often we ignore our mental health. Taking care of it is as important as taking care of our physical health. 100%. 100%. Tony saying, God, I'm not in a great place at the moment, but I'm trying to stay involved and chat. Do you know what? Sometimes, mate, it's fine to take a bit of a break and just kind of... Sometimes you need to walk away from the hobby for a few days or a few weeks to realise how much you miss it and bring you back to it and stuff. And we all go through bits of slumps and things like that at a time. But if it's more than a bit of a slump, the worst thing you can do is kind of hide away, mate. You definitely need to reach out. You know where I am, mate. I'll always make myself available. If you need to chat, mate, you know exactly where I am. Josh says, I had to give up on work 3 years ago to look after his wife as a full-time carer and look after his 2 children. If it wasn't for the hobby, I wouldn't be in the place I am now, and this group has helped a lot. That's awesome, Josh. I mean, I can imagine how tough that must have been, and I don't know what you did as a job, but even more so if it was something that you really loved doing, giving that up, even though it's for a very, very good reason, it's tough. I mean, we see our jobs and what we do as a bit of an identity at times, and it's what makes us feel kind of worthwhile and makes us feel that we're contributing, if you like. So, just I'm glad you found the hobby that to give you that you need, really. Lizzie said, another thing is the insta filler of seeing other people's glossy lives, hobby, and thinking no one else feels down or struggles. To be fair, Lizzie, it's something I'm really conscious of, because one of the reasons I got rid of all the games from behind me was that, like, those are things that I'd bought over the years. There were things that people had kind of sent me for review. I didn't want to put them all on view as if to say this is this kind of wonderful life and everybody should be surrounded by games, and like look at how many games I own. I see lots of channels like that who are absolutely just like wall to wall games across behind them, and I don't want to put pressure on people to make them think that I've got this wonderful life with loads of games and everything's rosy and that's what it's all about. I didn't want that, and it was one of the reasons why I wanted to change the backdrop, really. Like I have bad days and I whinge about stuff, and my wife will tell you that I'm not always the easiest person to live with, but all you can do is kind of be yourself, really, isn't it? There's definitely this feeling at the moment of people of kind of like only showing the best part of what you do. Yeah, you've got to be really careful of that. Peter saying he's been lucky to be in control of his mental health in recent years, but shame about the body. Yeah, it makes two of us, mate. I need a little bit of body care, I think, as well. It's just jumping on. I'm just going to dive back in because I'm well behind. Joachim says, I would love to chat so much today, but I'm afraid my lack of skills in English could make what I want to say come out wrong. Just to say I love this community and you folks make it great. Joachim, your skills in English are probably better than mine, mate. So don't you ever worry about that. Don't ever worry about that. VJ saying that I never put a hobby purchase on credit. Never would. No, me either, mate. But I'm just saying I've certainly seen people get into some nasty comments. The feeling of kind of wanting to show off what they've got. I saw somebody basically buy a Warlord Titan. Somebody who was in a gaming group that I used to go to bought a Warlord Titan with a credit card, and basically got themselves into a bit of a financial situation. And that Warlord Titan never ever got built, and they ended up selling it to somebody for like a tenth of what they paid for it, basically, just because they were desperate for cash. And that was the start of a very sort of slippery road for them. Tony's saying, you built it and we came here. This is a great site to be. I appreciate that, mate. But as I will always say, the community built this stuff around me as well. I'm the one that comes in and turns the lights on. Lee Burns is saying, great topic, Andy. Interesting how the hobby can help or hinder mental health. The escapism is great, but you can also get stressed out about not making progress with building and painting. Yeah, exactly, mate. I didn't even mention that either. Is that basically that you can put pressure on yourself. You can cause yourself to kind of get stressed and anxious about stuff because you've got a massive pile of plastic that's not getting painted and you're not playing with them anymore and you're never getting this army finished. And it's another thing to really work on. It's a reason why I never have anything out on display that's part finished other than the thing I'm working on. That way I focus on that. If I'm not going to do any more on it, that's fine. But I put it in a box and I put it away. Because if I've had problems in the past where I see all this stuff kind of mounting up and it becomes unmanageable. It becomes like it's out of control. And it goes back to what I was saying about kind of the route to happiness is kind of solving those problems. Everyone needs problems. Everyone needs projects. But finishing them, completing the project, gives you that sense of achievement. It's why I do these little slow grow campaigns. It's why I do these little painting projects for people. It's because that sense of accomplishment can really kind of, it just gives you a sense of energy, and it pushes you on to do more and to do something different next time. That's a great shout, mate. Thank you for bringing that up. What's that? Where are we up to? Krabby saying, great point, actually, Tony. Can we all take time and stick a thank you, Andy, in the chat? You don't have to say thank you to me, mate. I appreciate it. I should be thanking you. If it wasn't for you, look, I wouldn't be here doing this every week, that's for sure. VJ says, I love seeing the mug in the background. I value mine. Yes, tucked away there. Tucked away in the background. Agents of Sigma says, don't tell them about the free stuff us YouTubers get. Hello, Agents of Sigma. How are you doing, mate? I don't know which one of you it is, but awesome to have you in the chat tonight. Yeah, you don't get a lot, to be fair. I should stress that. But the stuff I did get. I don't get so much. I actually get less now I'm doing this full time than I did when I was doing it like sort of for a hobby. However, yeah, but it kind of mounted up behind me, I think, and obviously I wanted it to look nice on camera, so I had them shelves and everything else kind of stuff, and obviously like people like my Patreons were helping me, so buying those shelves was coming out of support from the community and things as well, and I didn't want to paint this picture of the expectation, if you like. That's what it was really. I mean, I'm sure everybody's got their own kind of piles of games at home and stuff, but anybody just coming into the hobby, I didn't want them to think like, oh my god, is that what I need to have? That's going to cost me a fortune. Is like I didn't want them to kind of have that opinion. Hence why this is just, it's meant to feel kind of cozy. It's got a little bit of my personality in it. Things like my AT-AT, my whiskey, my Rams helmet, my mug. It's kind of a bit of my personality and stuff in there. That's all it is. Rather than just look at what you could have won type stuff. Yoakum's having a chat there. Steve Smallworld in as well says, just nipped in, I have to catch up tomorrow. A subject that's close to me is suffering depression, but getting help. That's the main thing, mate. Getting help, getting on with it. Converting the concert to a proper hobby room to get back into the hobby. Nice, mate. I haven't heard from you in a little while, so I'm glad to see that you're not too bad, mate. Nice one. VJ says, my body care comes after the stream. We'll be off for a 10k run. I need to get back into the exercise stuff. With the gyms closing, when I was just starting to get back into it and starting to do that, I was looking forward to this kind of stuff where, like, not doing my old job, working from home, drop the little one at nursery, off to the gym, get my exercise in nice and early, working all day. I kind of had it all mapped out in my head. That all went out of the window as soon as lockdown stuff happened. Just Kev says, it's been touched on already, but I would reiterate the need for people to be comfortable with what they have and their abilities as a painter. Easier said than done, but BlackJack Legacy is a great place to be. 100%. Thank you, mate, for just kind of for mentioning that. Just honestly, only ever set yourself the targets for yourself. Don't by all means appreciate what other people do. I think that Premier League footballers have it great. But just because I'll never be that standard doesn't mean I can't kick a ball around in the garden with my son. Like, it's the same with painting. There are people out there who win golden demons. They are absolutely fantastic painters. Just because I know I'll never get to that standard. And it's not because, like, it's not because I think I can't do it. I won't do it because I'll never put that amount of time and effort into it. Just because I'll never get there doesn't mean I can't enjoy picking up a paintbrush. It doesn't mean I can't kind of paint minis. Like, never feel that you're trying to live up to other people's expectations of what's kind of required. I think I just saw it was Pete from Agents of Sigma there. Was it? Pierre. David Moffat says, I know I've made it as a YouTuber when people start trying to buy my opinion. I'll need to stay strong like Andy. Well, yes. Do you know what it is, mate? I think that you'd be surprised, even as a small YouTuber, I think people think that if they give you free stuff, then you will be more inclined to say nice things about them, kind of. And I wonder if that's part of the reason why I get less now. Because I've publicly come out and said, I'm not, like, my opinions are my own. I'm going to speak exactly what I'll say. It's all my own opinions kind of stuff. I wonder if that's impacted on the fact that some companies don't want to get involved anymore. So it's interesting. However, it does reiterate the ones that do. So, and to be fair, what I will be doing is I'll buy the stuff I'm interested in, and if I don't like it, I'll still tell you about it. The only difference is I'll have spent money on it. So, but then I'm sure you'd rather know the truth from me, then, wouldn't you? Bobby Clark says, you've mentioned how you like Goblin Gaming's mindset, and I totally agree. They're helping support me for my second year of charity work. There is. That's good to hear, mate. That is good to hear. David Mackay saying, on a good note, I finally got his first Black Seas frigate rigged. I see everybody doing those frigates, mate, and they look like they're hard work, but they look awesome when they're done. Spider Lord said, it's important not to beat yourself up, though. If you can paint what you're meant to be painting, try painting something you really want to paint. Yeah, it's a hobby. It's exactly what I've said before on other live streams and stuff. This is not a job. This is you don't have a standard that your boss wants you to achieve. You don't get paid on kind of putting a certain amount of effort in. It's a hobby. Hobby at your level. Hobby as often or as little as you want to, and just do what you enjoy. Al Cluely says, shout out to Josh, he's a hero. We met when he joined us at SMG for our fundraiser for mental health, Rolling for Mental Health, and together we raised over £600. That's fantastic, mate. That's absolutely fantastic. Where are we at? I just jumped a little bit. I'll dive back in. Peter Cummins, he's off to bed up early for that dead-end job that's being made redundant in September for the second time now. Do you know what it is, mate? Is when one door closes, another one opens. There's something better around the corner. Don't you worry about that. Scott Longworth being very kind there. Thank you very much. It's in best channel. Bortoloo's Love to Win says, yeah, I don't think you saw my earlier comment, and I want to say a thank you to you and the guys in here. I didn't see it, mate, but thank you very much. I appreciate that. Where are we up to? Busey saying, respect to everyone watching this. Yeah, respect to everyone. It's been a lively chat tonight. It's been like over 100 pretty much from the doors opening, and it's not often the chats do that. So yeah, thanks folks. It's good to. I appreciate you all kind of commenting and kind of sharing your experiences as well. How we're doing for time. What I'll do is I'll kind of catch up with the chat, 'cause I'm not far behind it, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat about gaming and stuff as well. But feel free to keep chatting about the mental health stuff as well, because I do want to share something in a little bit. James Brace is just about to do some bright green edge highlighting on a black Doom scythe. I'm fully prepared to have this thing look like it's covered in silly string. Could get stressed, won't. Yes, don't worry about it, mate. If worst comes to worst, just paint it again. That's the thing. Foul Mood Central says it means they can't buy you or put you to work for them. Yeah, maybe that's the case, mate. Just Kev said, a small thing I find it's nice to do is take a real interest in people's painted models. I ask if they have lore behind it and praise their painting by always finding something that stands out. Yeah, it's nice, mate. And Foul Mood says, which isn't bad at all. Yeah, I guess integrity is an expensive thing to have sometimes, isn't it? Morals don't come cheap. Where's Tony Howell saying, this stream and Wednesdays are my safe and lovely mates jam time. Yeah, for those that don't kind of come and hang out on a Wednesday, so Wednesday painting streams are just kind of a bit rambly, really. It's more like hanging out with your mates. It's just we chat about kind of music, we chat about films, we chat about gaming as well, we chat about kind of comedy shows that we like. It's just a kind of a bit of a random ramble, and it's a place where you can just kind of hang out and feel at home, really. So yeah, those that don't come in on Wednesdays, pop in once in a blue moon, just see what it's like. VG says, I definitely prefer reviews from people with skin in the game. Skin in the game, there's a term I don't hear very often. John Estel says, those that do probably have more confidence in their products. I think there's an element of that, mate. I think, to be fair, there are some companies who do have confidence in their products, and even if I don't like it, like, I'm not going to just slate a game for the sake of slating it, kind of thing. I'll be constructive and I'll tell you why I didn't like something. That doesn't mean they've made a bad product. It means it hasn't hit home with me personally. And you might agree with me, you might disagree with me. That's the beauty of this. That's why my reviews are, they're an opinion piece, really. You know, I'm telling you, if you like the kind of things that I like, you'll enjoy this. Or if you like the kind of things that I like, you might not enjoy this. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with stuff. And I think some companies are fine with that, because as long as they know I balance my views with kind of pros and cons, if you like, I think they're fine with that. But some companies are kind of have gone a bit cold, shall we say. Vincent says, I'm immediately distrustful of reviews with big sponsorship logo of the company that supplies the reviewed product. I think sometimes, mate, and I think especially with smaller YouTubers, and I've been there as well, I think there's definitely an element of kind of being grateful to the company for kind of sending something for review, especially when you're first starting out and you're getting, the first time you get something sent to you, it's like, wow, somebody knows who I am kind of thing. That's quite a big deal. And I think people still have honest reviews, but I think they feel the need to kind of say thank you to the company. So don't always mistrust those kind of things. Sometimes it's a balance. Peter Cooman says the biggest drag is putting effort in for a sinking ship. Yeah, I can appreciate that, mate. At the end of the day, if you come out with your own kind of self-respect, though, that's what you have to look back on, kind of thing. What you did and what you felt. Gene saying, unless someone's paying you, never paying something you don't want to. Yeah, I agree with that, mate, as well. Where are we up to? Taliesin says, thanks for the pleasant talk. Good night, guys. Thank you very much, Taliesin. Thanks for coming in. Jacob says, I see so many hobby channels shilling on Kickstarters that I've never heard of. Their business model must be selling out. I think there's a mix when it comes to Kickstarters, because I've been contacted many times from people with Kickstarters who want to kind of pay me to do a preview or a review or something. And one of two things tends to happen. One is I'll say, you've left it too late. Like you want a review doing and the Kickstarter goes live on Monday kind of thing. Like, never going to happen. I haven't got time to do a proper job of it. And two, if you're paying me, you're obviously are you happy for me to do a review which says my honest opinion, basically? And that tends to So if you see me doing any Kickstarter previews, there is one of two reasons why I'm doing it. One is they've given me plenty of time to kind of make the content, and they are fine with having my honest opinion. Or two, it's a game or a company or like a friend or somebody who's doing a Kickstarter that I want to support and that I believe in myself. So yeah, you'll if I ever, and I don't do a lot of Kickstarters, to be fair. But if you ever see me doing one, that's the reason why. Basically, one of those two reasons. I would never do it just to kind of get a quick buck and kind of just to say something nice and kind of bury a couple of quid in my pocket kind of thing. Agents of Sigmar says, good luck with the channel, dude. Keep up the good work. I'm off to bed. Thanks, mate. Nice to see you, Pete, and catch you later. Spylaw says, does impatience count as mental health? Because I'm jonesing for Indominus. Get on with it. I don't think it does, mate. I think impatience is something different. Unless it's getting you depressed, of course. That's something different. Peter Nicholas says, I have integrity, but it is for sale at the right price. I can sell my integrity as long as I agree, eh? Foul Mood sent us in, virtual pub for the win. Yeah, Gene saying I can make it on Wednesday, not battle work till Thursday. Nice, mate. Buffalo Bill always had a skin in the game, says Andrew. Tony Howell says, I love our members. I love the painted minis, an amazing hobby regardless of ability. I think it's important to recognise everyone. Since I do have issues, I think it's good to be accepting. Yeah. What's the phrase? Let him without... Was it him without sin cast the first stone or something like that, isn't it? Flying Mammal says, night everyone, thank you for talking about this tonight. You are welcome, Flying Mammal, and I hope you're well. I appreciate it. I bet lockdown's been tough for you too as well. So yeah, take care, and you know where I am if you ever want to have a chat. Fiji says, everybody wants to feel acknowledged and seen. Where are we at? Peter Cooman says, well, he's hitting the sack. Stay awesome, guys and girls. Peter out. I like that bit dab there as well. Scott says, personally, if people tell the truth about a product, it gives the company a true reflection of what people actually think of their product, which would only help the company grow. Yeah, to be fair, mate, it is. I mean, like I did my review recently of Code One, and it was an honest review. I picked out some negative stuff that I didn't like. I picked out some positive stuff that I do like. I personally like the game, and I will continue to play it. But I think my review basically said it's not for everybody. So don't go into this thinking it's something that it's not. And from the comments in my video, there were people that said, thank you very much. You've given me all the information I need to go out and buy it. I know what I'm getting. And there were other people that said, thank you very much. This is definitely not what I want. You've saved me a few quid. And that's exactly what it should be. What you don't want to do is to mislead people into buying something when they buy it and they think, this is nothing like he said it was. This is absolutely awful. I thought he said it was a good game, kind of thing. I can only ever be honest about that kind of stuff. I'd feel really bad sort of telling you something was good and you going out and buying it and going, what on earth is he talking about? This is garbage. When deep down, if all I was saying that for was basically so that they send me something else next time. No. Krabby says, I feel like this video needs more 40k Andy, mate, or the thumbnail may be deemed clickbait. I'll tell you why I chose the thumbnail. If you look very closely, it's the image from 8th edition 40k. I have purposefully, I've done it myself. I've made it into two. The image from 8th edition was half of a Space Marine head, half of a Death Guard head. And I've basically taken the Space Marine head and I've kind of like cracked it up as if it's kind of like fracturing and it's in pieces. And then I've kind of split the background into kind of red and blue, fire and ice. And the idea of it was, very subtly, was that kind of mental health kind of fractures you and it takes you in two directions and it makes you doubt stuff and there's a good side and a bad side to it. And sometimes it can get you hot and bothered and sometimes it can make you kind of feel frozen and kind of debilitating. So there was a very subtle message behind it. I'm sure nobody will get that. It was just my own kind of little interpretation, but it gave it an opportunity to stick on kind of brand as for kind of it was about tabletop gaming. It kept it nice and clean. I didn't kind of cover it in words. I thought it would kind of cheapen the mood to put in massive big letters, your mental health type thing. But yeah, there's a meaning behind it. That's the meaning behind it. If you go back and look at that thumbnail, you'll see how I spent ages on that, making half of it all kind of cracked and stuff. Where are we off? Tony Booliden says, I don't mind as long as reviewers are upfront about sponsorship or freebies. I take in a range of opinions and see where I go from there. However, I much prefer your approach. Yeah, I'm not against it either, mate, but I think just being upfront about it is the main thing. 100%. Scott says, now Andy, start off the 40k start collecting painting challenge. Yeah, I might do, mate. I'm kind of close to it, to be fair, because I mean, the stuff I've done so far has been very kind of Mantic heavy, to be fair. We did Kings of War, we've done Dead Zone, so I'm all for opening it up to other folks as well, especially with a new edition coming as well, with Combat Patrol coming in. So yeah, I think I might do that, mate. Luke's off now as well, says night all, night mate, see you later. VG says Discord is always a great space to be in. Having it on mobile is like having a pocket full of sunshine. Yes, it is, and I've sorted out Patreon now as well, so that if you subscribe to the Patreon, from as little as $2 a month, will get you access to the Discord chat that we're talking about here. As soon as you sign up, you should get the link for it straight away. You don't have to go searching for it now. So if anybody in the Patreon chat now in Discord is, why is my name changed colour? That's why, because I've managed to set it up properly. Where are we up to? George says, BlackJack Legacy, funny enough, I saw your face on the Battle Systems Fantasy Terrain Kickstarter just tonight as I was checking it. Should be arriving next week on the doorstep. It's funny you should say that, mate, because I've been in touch with them these last couple of weeks about getting a set of the new Fantasy Terrain to kind of have a final review. How does it live up to what I saw when I saw the prototypes? How does it kind of match against that? So yeah, I think they're going to send me out some bits of that Fantasy Terrain to take a look at. So I'll be reviewing that soon as well, mate. Jess Hunson, it's been a good chat tonight. Big up the mental gaming massive. We failed those sand rolls, but we've got built a hobby. Yes, mate, 100%. Where else are we up to? Krabby says, are you saying you created an original clickbaity image? Yeah. It's not original. I'm saying that it's not clickbait. There's a reason behind why it's there. Peter Nicholas says, Andy's deeper than we suspected. I have to roll my trousers up. Christian says, D&D, one of the best games to play ever, having fun with failure. 100% it is, mate. I can imagine anywhere. Jez said, it's a good image. Lee Burns says, I got it, Andy, top thumbnailing. See? There you go. If you go and look at the original image and then look at my image, you'll see that I've kind of intentionally, I wanted to make it into kind of jigsaw pieces and have it fracturing away, but it was taking too long. Born to Lose, Live to Win says, thumbnail is a great, mate. Nice idea. Thank you. Tim Kelly says, strong thumbnail game since 2012. VJ always kind of rates my thumbnails. Thanks, VJ. And Krabby said, I just like to wind him up a bit. Wait, I get to see you, mate. Where we down to? Mark Burracloth says, didn't add up anything in the convo. Didn't add anything in the convo, but was nice to listen to as I worked. Cheers all. Thanks, Mark. It's nice for people to join in and take part, mate. It doesn't always have to. You don't always have to contribute to feel part of it, and that's the way to do it. Spylaw said, I backed Battle Systems' first Kickstarter at the same time as Alien vs Predator. I thought they'd go well together. Yeah, that's core space stuff, definitely, mate. David Moffat says, I'm humming and hawing on how to build his black shield for 20 minutes now. He's going to go Storm Shield and Power Maul for Rule of Cool. Nice one, mate. Rule of Cool always wins. Krabby saying 100% clickbait image then. 100%, mate, every time. Original clickbait material, lock down your aerial. Foul Mood Sentinel says, question for you folks. What's your opinion on proxy models or having something represented as a certain model despite being a kit bash? I think, personally, mate, it's absolutely fine. If it, as long as it's kind of relevant, you know what I mean? If it looks like what it's supposed to represent. In other words, you can't put like I couldn't come out and go, this model here, this is representing a giant, because a giant's 60 quid and this one cost me a £5. That's different. But if you're kit bashing something, you just want to make it look cool. That's fine. Just tell people if that's the case. And if they have a problem, that's their problem. Yeah, Spylord saying, if you're doing a kit bash, go nuts. If it's a Coke can as a dreadnought, I might say something. Yes, exactly. So speaking of what I did want to say before we kind of before we go on, I did want to share a couple of things. So if you're in the UK, we're talking about mental health, and you do feel that you need to kind of speak to somebody, obviously, like I said, there's people in this chat. Feel free to kind of reach out in this community, even if it's just to kind of touch base and get a bit of a friendship circle going. Please do reach out to me, reach out to the folks in the chat, join the Facebook group, come across the Patreon, join it in a Discord chat, whatever it takes. However, within the UK, there's a couple of companies I want to make you aware of. One is the Samaritans. We've already mentioned their number earlier on today as well, and I will just actually let me go back and get the ones. Where was it? Of course, I've just clicked off it. So let me get that list back up again. Just bear with me while I get that one up. Where is it? There was a thing where I was talking about. Anyway, let me just tell you. So Samaritans is one that you can reach out for. Also, there's a company called Mind, which is UK based, very much about kind of about mental health as well. The contacts for them. Let me just find the name. The website is basically mind.org.uk. If you're in the UK, they've got a helpline which is 03444 775 774, and they've got a text number as well. So I do advise you to go and check out the website. There's also a website and a company called CALM, CALM, which is Campaign Against Living Miserably. Please do go and check them out too. And obviously, if you're in a different country to the UK as well, please do check out anything relevant for your country, be that kind of medical advice or actually somebody from a support helpline. But the key point here is please, 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 please do not suffer in silence. Do not feel alone. Please reach out. The worst thing you can do is not get help. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we covered that as well, because I had that in my notes. I also want to just show you what I've been painting today as well, getting onto the hobby topic. So I spoke about Wild West Exodus last week, which was kind of the big games that you don't play, and it's a big game in the way that it's like it's people have heard of it, you know what I mean? It's a big game, but I don't really see it played a lot. I downloaded the rules this week. The rules are free on the website. You can download all of the stat cards and all of the tokens. They're all absolutely free that you can check through them. The game uses like a deck of cards as well to like activation points, and I think they're called Guts and Glory cards as well. You can even download them and print them out as well. So the game technically is absolutely free to play. However, about 3 years ago, I got the Gunfighter Red Oak starter set. And in that starter set there's 5 models for the Lawmen, 5 models for the Outlaws. There is tokens, there's a rule book, there's cards, and there's all the stat stuff. Now it's that old now that basically the rule book is no longer valid. The cards are no longer valid. I don't even know if I'm assuming that you can still use the models in the game. I'm pretty sure you can. But I decided I was going to paint them up. So this is what I've been painting, folks. So I've been doing these today. These are essentially contrast paints and dry brushes. I wanted to do them quick, and I wanted to get them on a table. And if I can do these, I forget if these are out. I think these are the Outlaws. I could be wrong. They're either the Outlaws or the what do you call it? The Lawmen. I think these are the Outlaws. And so yeah, so I literally did them as quick as I could. Lawman, thank you very much, Spider Lord. Is this Wyatt Earp? Is this Wyatt Earp is the Lawman? Because I think the other ones Jesse James and Frank James, I think. So yeah, so they're essentially contrast paints and dry brushes. And I'm kind of happy with how they come out. I wanted to get both sets done up. I'll probably do a bit of a video about them once they're all painted and just kind of give my opinions on where the game is now versus where it was a number of years ago when I first experienced it. There's a few questions, people saying, those bases are nice, what are they? They are essentially, folks, they are cork and sand. And then I've just kind of basically, I painted them with, what's the colour called again now? Trying to look over now, see if I can see it. I painted them with some sandy colours, and then I kind of dry brushed it up to white across the top. So essentially, let me, if I can go back to the main screen, that's basically what the bases look. This is the other set, so you can see what the bases look like. Just basically cork and then sand on the bottom. That's how they look when they're not painted. So the other 5 models, sorry, are basically not done yet. So yeah, I just wanted. This is if you're just getting started, you just want to do something quick. This is literally about. I would say about 3 hours work, something like that, 3.5 hours work. Essentially, I just kind of contrast painted the vast majority of it, and then just dry brushed it to give it a little bit of interest, a little bit of height. So you can see that this blue is basically contrast. I think it's the ultramarine blue with a light blue dry brush on it. The color of the bike here is one of the contrast greys, and then dry brushed with a silver, just to kind of give it a metallic-y looking. These two literally took me minutes. I basically contrast painted the entire thing with that grey colour. I painted some gold bits on it, a little bit of kind of red on the eyes and stuff, just to give it a little focal point on the gun, and then dry brush lightly over top with silver, and that was them done basically. Super quick. And that was it. I just want to show that it doesn't have to take long. And actually, I would say that actually the picture doesn't really do them justice. Seeing them here on it, bearing in mind the size of that, like on my screen, that's about 6 inches tall on that bike. In reality, like that's the size of it. Do you know what I mean? So you can imagine that everything that's highlighting the issues there, you won't see them here. So yeah, I just kind of thought. I think it comes back to what I was saying before, really. We're in a situation at the minute where there's not a lot of new stuff coming out to talk about. We've got 9th edition coming out soon. Most companies have been on a bit of a hiatus, really, with problems getting stuff in from China or manufacturing going down because of lockdowns and things. It's not easy to kind of to talk about stuff. Like I'm waiting for the new Warcry warband to come out. That hasn't arrived yet. So I just thought I'd kind of go through my back catalogue of stuff, really. Look at the games that I'm... Sorry, my watch is going nuts here. Look at the games that I'm interested in that kind of I haven't really covered yet. Look at the stuff I've already bought rather than going buying new stuff. Stuff that I already have at home. So I'm just kind of working my way through some of that. So yeah, I thought I'd do a little bit of work on these Wild West Exodus models. After we chatted about it last week, it kind of piqued my interest again. So I just thought I'll kind of make the most of what I've got. Where are we at? George is saying that he did the same on the Outlaws for Shadow of Brimstone and posted pictures. Yeah, I saw those pictures, mate. I'm pretty sure I like them actually. Zandri Dust, that's the one. Thank you very much, mate. Zandri Dust it was. Dry brushed with a bit of Carrick Stone, then dry brushed with just with white, I think it was. Yeah, it was just white. Vijay says, never been big on Wild West themed himself. I think the difference, mate, is that it's not just Wild West. I mean, there are a couple of factions that, I know it's called Wild West Exodus, but there are a couple of factions that are kind of very much cowboy-esque. But there's a lot of factions that are really much more kind of sci-fi aliens and stuff, really. It's like an alternative history, if you like. I think if you're somebody that would potentially like weird World War II, you'd kind of like this. This is kind of like weird Wild West, if you like. Not wiggy wild West. Crabby says, my black dog is fantastic. Anyone struggling, have a read through the website. My black dog, I must have missed that, mate. Stephen Peck says, thanks for everything, Andy and community. Stay safe and healthy and reach out if you need anything. Off now as an early start. Take care, mate. I'll see you later. Spider Lord says, sometimes I find painting something that's just different can give you a real boost. Yeah, I agree, mate. I mean, I purely painted them, really. I wanted to see how quickly I could do something and still be kind of happy with the finish, really. And that's, I'm happy I kind of achieved that, really. Foul Mood Central, you're welcome. Phil Morris says, hello Phil Morris, by the way, says, Malifaux outcasts of some Western themed rooms. Yeah, they're nice. Malifaux is something else I've been reading about as well, to be fair. I've been interested, previously played a lot of Malifaux first edition, so I'm kind of reading up on the third edition rules now as well to see where it is. VG saying, okay, yeah, been looking into Conflict 47 for Weird World War. Yeah, it's. I mean, I think as you could see in the picture, there's obviously like mechanical dogs and like they're not horses. They're like kind of like flying bike things. So yeah, you can see they're not. It's not typical West. Deb saying, bed for her. Great chat tonight. Thanks everyone. Just to reiterate, my inbox is always open if anyone needs to chat. Thank you, Debs. Thanks for coming in as well. VJ saying, Wild West. Wiki. Terrible movie. Fantastic robot spider. Yeah, I don't mind like awful movies. There's some good bits to it, to be fair. Peter saying, good night, sleep tight everyone. Bortaloose living win saying night, and Scott saying, your microphone has gone quiet. That's probably because I'm leaning forward, mate. That's what it was. I'm forgetting my microphone's above my head there. So I'm going to have a quick drink, and I think we'll call that a night. We'll call it a night, folks. I just want to kind of wrap it up saying thank you to everybody that's been in the chat tonight. Thank you for those that donated. If anybody would like to support me and keep the lights on in the BlackJack Legacy channel, please do consider checking out this and the Patreon. $2 a month all the way up to kind of $20 a month. There's different tiers, give you different bonuses, and every cent, every penny counts, really, and that's what helps me pay the bills. Because as of tomorrow is my official last day in my old job. My contract ends tomorrow. I registered the business today with HMRC, which is Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs today. So BlackJack Legacy, the company, is official now. Yeah, so exciting times. And it's you folks in the community supporting me through Patreon that basically means that this is my full-time job now. So thank you very much. Thank you, Christian, for sharing that link. Take care, everyone. Remember, as everyone says, if anybody needs to talk, you know where I am, you know where everybody else is. Please, please, please reach out. And thanks for making tonight's stream really, really positive and really interactive. So take care, everyone, and I will see you on Wednesday for the painting stream. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month, and there is lots of different tiers and bonuses which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now